Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now!
Oh, hello. My volume was up way too loud for that. That was a boom in the eardrums is what that was.
How you doing?
Just great. Look at it out there.
Gorgeous.
It's hot as fuck.
34 degrees Celsius today with the Humidex. It is going to be great. There's so much to get to. We've got Diddy and Fitty and Shady and Christia and Pierre.
Holy fuck. All the big guns are on the show today.
They are all coming up. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to run a couple of stories by you.
Okay.
And then I'm going to play some audio from yesterday. At least one passenger is dead and dozens more are injured, Kat, after a Singapore Airlines flight from London to Singapore encountered, and I quote, severe turbulence and dropped thousands of feet in the air. A passenger on board the flight said he saw people being launched into the ceiling of the Boeing 777, leaving dents in the overhead baggage holds after the plane suddenly dropped in altitude. The person who died was a 73-year-old British man, and it appears this wasn't like a broken neck or anything. He had a heart attack, as I suspect I likely would have as well. There were two Canadians on board this flight.
Wow.
What the hell's going on? You know, we went years without hearing anything about drama in the skies, and now every week there's a major
Since 9/11
incident.
anyway. Yeah,
Well,
for
there's
sure,
that,
for sure. Yeah, I don't know, but when it comes to the actual aircrafts, it's a scary thing. I mean, I say this about flying all the time, and you know what? You can relate it to riding a bus, being in an Uber, even driving your own car. We take so many risks in being in these situations. You know, we kind of put all of our trust into the hands, in this case, of, the pilot. But you sometimes don't even think about the fact that it's not just the hands of the pilot you've got to trust. It's the actual aircraft. And when the actual aircraft is failing in many different ways, does it make you want to jump on an airplane anytime soon? And for a lot of people, that answer is like no. Even if it is a 1 in whatever. I don't know what it is now. The odds have to have gone up, though. I would have said like a once in a 5 million chance. It's probably closer to once in 1 million chance that something's probably going to happen to you.
Right.
Whether it's nobody dies on your flight or anything, but something may happen. It's a scary thing. I'm into the conspiracy theory stuff right now.
Yes, that's what
listen,
I wanted to hear. Give it to me.
The Boeing stuff.
Yep.
People who know things about Boeing, the Boeing whistleblowers, dying. Nobody cares. Look, is nobody looking into this?
You know, I hear conspiracy theories all the time. People go out of their way to send them to me, and I don't bite on 80% of them. But certain ones add up. Boeing, there's got to be a reason that people who are blowing the whistle on these planes going up there without fucking bolts in the door are dying. There's got to be a reason.
It's strange.
It's not a coincidence.
It's strange. And we know one person who was involved, a quality auditor at Spirit Aerosystems, so he died in the beginning of May. One of the whistleblowers for Boeing just died recently.
Yeah, I mean, come on. There's something there.
That was suicide. We're going to say that for now. But man, there's a lot of money here too being made. So, and when you're someone who uses an airplane like most of us do, whether it's just for light travel now and again, or whether we do it all the time, it's a scary thing.
Listen, I don't want to point fingers here, but to me, it can't just be a coincidence that we heard nothing but horror stories for years about pilots and a shortage of pilots and a shortage of maintenance workers. And then there was all the people who got fired because they wouldn't get a vax. There's got to be a reason that all of those shortages led up to now all these incidents in the sky. Is this just a matter of the planes are safe, but nobody's checking them? And every now and again, you got to tighten up some bolts and make sure the wings aren't going to fall off? Mm-hmm. What's going on? It seems scary as shit right now. And people are dying over this. It's not good. Whistleblower thing's another one, though. We treat whistleblowers so poorly. You know, we should want to know what these people have to say. Julian Assange is a perfect example. This guy is probably going to get tried for treason if he gets extradited to America. And in reality, he probably saved America by waking people up to what their government is up to.
You think those people should immediately get a safe place to go to? Treated kind of like a witness in a witness protection kind of situation?
I think it depends on what kind of whistle they're blowing. Boeing stuff, you shouldn't need that kind of security. We should all want transparency when it comes to safety. If you're blowing the whistle on government secrets, then yeah, maybe you should. And you know what? If there's any truth to what you're reporting, yeah, you deserve protection. Nobody should be feeling threatened because they want to do the right thing and expose what their government is up to. But let's move on. Notorious BC serial killer Robert Pickton brutally attacked in prison on Sunday. This was a maximum security prison, Port Cartier. Pickton was speared in the head with a broken broom handle by another inmate who had a history of violence.
Okay.
So I'm a little conflicted here. On one hand, Robert Pickton is a piece of shit. He killed a lot of women and made them suffer when they died. So I don't really feel bad for him here.
No.
But there's a problem in our prisons if somebody can get shanked in the head with a broom handle.
That's a creative one. I don't know if anyone's done that one before. Probably.
An ambulance collided with a moose on Sunday as it was responding to a crash, also involving a moose. Let this be a warning to everybody.
God.
Don't mess with the moose. The first crash.
They're huge. They're fucking huge.
It happened on highway. If you've seen one in real life,
yes,
right?
It's insane.
Maybe if you're listening to us from America, you think, you guys see moose all the time.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't.
No, I mean, if you live like in Newfoundland or maybe somewhere in northern BC, maybe you see them more regularly than we do here. Even northern Ontario, maybe. But in southern Ontario, there's no moose.
No, we don't have moose. When I saw it, I was in Alberta. I was in Banff at the time. And it was not even that close to me because it's a dangerous thing when a wild moose is near you. I tend to think. And it was like, oh gosh, it had to be like more than 100 feet away. And that even scared me. I was like, I'm too close. This thing is massive. It was humongous.
The TTC has been issued a no board report by the Ministry of Labor. That means that unless a deal is reached by June the 7th, thousands of TTC, Toronto Transit Commission workers, are going to be on strike. The Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 113, says key issues in negotiations with the TTC management include job security and wages. The last time they went on strike was in 2008. Do you remember the 2008 strike?
I'm trying to recall.
It didn't last long because the government of the day legislated them back to work quickly, but it was fucking chaos.
Yes,
Kat.
I think I do remember that. Yes.
I am here to tell you folks that manage the TTC or that run the city of Toronto one thing. If the TTC goes on strike, if people have to start looking for another way to get to where they've got to go, it's the end of transit in Toronto. If you take this already unreliable system and take it completely offline over a labor dispute, you might as well forget about the TTC. Scrap it, bury it, get our money back for it, whatever. There won't be a need for transit because everyone will have officially given up on it. This cannot be allowed to happen. Why is this allowed to happen? Aren't we all of a sudden the big green country? We're the ones who are spending on transit and all this stuff. How is it even possible that our transit could go offline because of a strike?
Yeah, I know. There's certain things that I think should be deemed essential, right? Is that what you think? Maybe deemed essential, or should there be a different kind of thing that keeps that from happening?
Okay, I don't remember all the circumstances. If I'm not mistaken, they were deemed essential, and then a court overturned it.
Okay.
Because it violated their right to collective bargaining. You can still do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. People who say you can't are dumb. This is a solvable problem. Let's just solve the problem. Because if the TTC goes on strike for even a day and people discover, I actually kind of like riding my bike, or I actually kind of like walking, or maybe it's time to look for a car because transit's not reliable. It's the end of the TTC.
Also, I fucking hate unions. I know I've said it before and I'll say it again. And in some cases, I understand where it might be beneficial. I was part of one for a short time. Fucking hated every minute of it. Hated paying the union dues. Wasn't interested in going to the meetings. And I would have rather kept that money than given it to the union for the fees. Really.
Yep, absolutely. I promised you a little bit of audio before we talk about inflation, and the new numbers came out yesterday. This will have a lot to do with interest rates when that announcement gets made in a few weeks. Let's go to yesterday in the House of Commons. A very simple question during question period from the leader of the opposition got such a childish response from our so-called deputy prime minister. Listen to this.
Think that you pay down debt by borrowing more, that you stop inflation by printing money, and that you fight the drug overdose crisis by legalizing hard drugs. So at least they're consistent in their irrationality, Mr. Speaker. But now they've been forced to backtrack right before the election on their legalization of hard drugs because Canadians are revolting against the policy. Today we have a motion that will be voted in the House to permanently ban hard drugs. Will this government vote for that motion, or will they admit that they plan to legalize drugs again after the next election?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader is wearing more makeup than I am today. Now, I think it's wonderful.
I'm going to ask
What does that have
colleagues.
What?
I know. Hang on.
Order.
You understand why everybody's upset. That's one of the most childish things I think I've ever heard from an elected individual, let alone our Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance.
Order. I'm going to ask the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to withdraw that comment. We don't comment on the appearances of members. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, I withdraw that comment.
What was the point? What's the point of that?
She's
what are
an
you
idiot.
trying to do?
Listen, this is someone who is way in over their head. A former journalist, although I've never read anything of any quality that she ever wrote. And somehow now, mainly because of her connections to Justin Trudeau and Ukraine and the World Economic Forum, has managed to be promoted with speed and stealth through cabinet faster than any other minister because she is the chief. She is the heir apparent to Justin Trudeau. And the fact that she thought it was okay to stand up in the House of Commons and say that is absolutely mind-boggling. Imagine if Pierre Poilievre had stood up in the House of Commons and commented on how much makeup Chrystia Freeland was wearing, like the day she gave the budget when she looked like a clown.
Well, and here's the interesting part, too, is I'm sure Chrystia Freeland, if you would have asked her at the time, had anything to say about the way that Justin Trudeau was represented in the election and you shouldn't be focusing on his hair and all this other shit. It's so hypocritical.
It's so hypocritical.
And I agree with this. I'm glad that was the speaker who said appearances need to be left out of this. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And it always should be. I don't care if you're at a council meeting, a city council meeting, or you're representing a province, a city. It doesn't even fucking matter. What does that have to do with anything?
What does it have to do with anything? I think she's answered the question by not answering the question. It's pretty simple. If the Liberals win the next election, they're going to go right back to the plan that they were in before. Legalizing cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, meth, all of it. They want legalized drugs in Canada. And they're just waiting until they get through the next election to do it. They know it's unpopular, but for some reason, this government seems to think that once they're elected, they get a free pass for 4 years. And I really don't understand it. They talk a lot about democracy. I find it incredibly ironic that the party talking about democracy is currently in charge when we've got a speaker that nobody wants and we can't get rid of them. We've got a government that nobody wants and we can't get rid of them, and a prime minister that nobody wants and we can't get rid of them. Yet they talk about democracy. It's mind-boggling. However, there's, like I said, a couple of things I wanted to play. We're talking about building homes, right? The housing minister, Sean Fraser, said everybody better stay out of his way because he's building 3.9 million homes by 2035 or 2033.
Oh.
It works out to like 3 homes a minute that we would have to build starting like 4 months ago. And we're nowhere even close to that. In fact, housing starts were down in April because interest rates are so high that builders don't want to get into these big projects right now and have to finance them.
Yeah.
So yesterday, another member of parliament, Leslyn Lewis, asked about building homes. Listen to this.
Your government has set some pretty ambitious targets to build homes in for Canadians. Your government's goal is 3.9 million homes in 2031. That's 1.096 homes must be built every minute. That's 65 homes per hour. We've been here just over 30 minutes. Has your government built 32 homes in the last 32 minutes, Minister?
My view is that people who would suggest a problem is impossible to solve shouldn't try to interfere with the person who's trying to actually solve it. If your goal is to throw up obstacles every way, feel free, have a field day. I want to solve the housing crisis. My goal is actually based around what I think it will take to solve it.
In the
Point of
last
order,
30
As I
years.
expect, Mr. Chair.
Point of
Sorry, I have
order.
a point of order. We're going to stop the time.
Oh, and then they shut down the question.
All right.
It's a fair question. You said we're building
Your
3.9.
government has set some pretty ambitious
Hang on.
targets.
We know.
It was worth
We
hearing
heard
again,
you.
but we
heard
won't.
you.
They said they want to build 3.9 million homes. That's the math.
Yeah.
It works out to almost 2 homes a second
But
or a
does
minute.
does that make you wonder if they did the math?
They didn't. These people are so bad at this shit. Why would you promise 4 million homes? You under-promise and over-deliver, not the other way around, and they haven't figured that out yet. It's crazy to me. Absolutely nuts. But here we are, and I don't think there were 32 homes built in the time that they were sitting there. Yesterday, we got the inflation numbers, Kat. Inflation in March was 2.9%. Now it's 2.7%. It's gone down again. So that would indicate we should be able to lower interest rates in June. But here we go again. Now that son of a bitch, Tiff Macklem, might push it back to July.
Yeah.
What
It's
don't
looking
these
like
people
it.
understand about affordability? It's not a this month, next month. It'll be sometime soon. It's a dire situation. People are losing everything. They are destroying the middle class. And these people are fucking around taking their time.
Yeah, I think more and more that you were on to it earlier about them waiting until it's closer to any potential election time.
That's what they want to do.
Right? They want to
figure
make themselves look like heroes at the time.
Trudeau has got Tiff Macklem convinced. Maybe it's Freeland. I'm not sure. They're all diabolical. Although Tiff Macklem's a piece of shit too. So what they do is they wait and they keep everybody all starved financially with no money. And then as the election gets better, they start to lower interest rates and people start to feel like, oh, things are getting better. We can give Trudeau 4 more years. That's what they're hoping for. Everybody should see right through it. Warn all your friends that this is what's coming and don't fall for it.
That's the only hope. I mean, you say that's what they're hoping for. This is the only hope that they have,
Right.
I think, at this point.
Well, you know, as I look at this inflation report, StatsCan says the cost of groceries rose 1.4% in April compared with a year ago. Meat contributed the most to the cooling of food inflation, whereas it's the other way around. Meat was one of the most expensive things going for a while there. Now the prices are coming down as they typically do in the spring. The 2 most expensive things contributing to inflation were gas,
Yes.
$1.66 a liter
Insane.
today.
Insane.
So it's gas and housing costs. Both of those things directly influenced by our federal officials. Housing costs could be brought under control. Maybe inflation would be 0 if they got rid of the carbon tax and brought interest rates back down to where they were. It probably would be 0. I mean, 1.2% food inflation is not a lot, but let's keep in mind that's over last year. Last year was higher than the year before, and the year before that was higher than the year before that. When you actually work it out, I did the math, so you don't have to. Grocery prices have increased 21% between April 2021 and April 2024. 21%. Leger did a poll of people who do grocery shopping, and they said, hey, do you feel like food inflation is getting better or getting worse? It is getting worse if you follow the inflation numbers from StatsCan, but what is the perception? How does it feel? The stuff you buy, does it seem like it's getting cheaper? What do you think, Kat?
No.
Really?
Overall? Does it feel like it's getting cheaper? No.
I feel like some things have gone down.
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. But for the most part, it's still all over the place. Like for me, I could still walk into one grocery chain and sure, there might be sales for, $2.99 for strawberries. Great. And then I still walk into another place and it's $6.99 for the same amount of strawberries. Like for me, it's also make it make sense. You know what I mean? And that's not like a crazy, that's a crazy sale. For example, like $2 on strawberries, but that's how much it should be this time of year. I think.
Yeah. Hey, I got home from work the other day and there was a whole watermelon sitting on the counter. I thought we won the fucking lottery. You know, a watermelon used to be on the high end, like $6.99 for a whole watermelon. For a while there, they were selling them for like $25.
It seemed like it.
It's crazy. Meat does seem to have come down a little bit. Maybe it's just the meat that I'm shopping for, beef, chicken, that sort of stuff. Overall, though, the grocery store is still out of control. The people who organized the boycott against Loblaw say they're going to extend it. It's not going to end at the end of May. They want to keep it going for a while longer while the people organizing it continue to advocate for consumers. Want to know how many people are actually participating in the Loblaw boycott?
How many? Well, is this just based on however many people are on like the social pages?
Well, no. 26. I've got the numbers on where people think food inflation is coming from.
Okay.
30% of respondents believe food inflation has been caused primarily by the grocery chains themselves. Yes, they have a monopoly. And in a lot of cases, they control the supply chain because they've got their own companies making products for them. PC is making stuff for Loblaw and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, if you said that, you're probably absolutely right. But another 26% believe the lie that it is due to global economic factors like supply chain issues. By the way, if you believe that, that's been debunked so many times. It's the carbon tax and the grocery companies that are doing this. 1 in 5 blame the federal government, and I actually don't think it's their fault, but I think that they're a little misguided in how they're trying to deal with it. 7 out of 10 people polled said they're aware of the boycott against Loblaw-owned stores. 70% of people surveyed are aware of it, but just 18% say someone in their household is taking part in it. Even at that, if 70% of the country's aware of it and 1 in 5 of those people are participating in it, there's no way this isn't hurting Loblaws on some level. And that's what we want. They screwed us for years. They still are every day. Give a little bit back to them. I don't see anything wrong with it. It's your money. You can shop anywhere you want. Nobody should shame anybody for where they shop, I don't think.
No.
However, in this case, they deserve it. They really do. So
it's kind of just even if it's just a bit of an experiment, right? Like for me, it's like, okay, look, convenience reigns. I'm just at that stage of my life. If I need to pick something up and all I have around me is a Loblaw store, I might have no choice but to do it because I'm not going to drive way far out of my way. However, absolutely, I've been when I can, I avoid it just because I want to be a part of this experiment to see what happens. Like to me, I'm interested to see what happens.
One more thing before we move on to some of more of the entertainment stuff, because I really do want to get to the Diddy. That's crossing into news territory. That's almost not even new entertainment anymore. He's a fucking mess, that Diddy. Wow. But we'll get to that. Finally, an update on the rebranding of Toronto's Yonge-Dundas Square to Sankofa Square is going before city councillors in Toronto today. City staff say a sign reflecting the old name has been decommissioned and a new sign will be up by the end of the year. A staff report says the design, fabrication, and installation of the new sign is expected to cost between $105,000 and $200,000 for a sign that says Sankofa Square instead of Dundas Square. City Council voted to rename the square after a petition in the summer of 2020 noted Henry Dundas, an 18th century Scottish politician, acted to delay the abolition of slavery. Do you want to talk about Sankofa Square?
Sankofa?
Sankofa? As I understand it, it's like a Haitian word. It's somewhere in the Caribbean.
Okay, all right, fine. Listen, I don't know how long it'll take us to get used to that.
Nobody's going to get used to it. I don't think anybody, I don't even know if it's going to happen, Kat. You know, they're spending all this money.
The cost of it, right? It doesn't, I understand the desire, but can we not try to work something out so that absolutely, it shouldn't be named after someone who did terrible things. Totally agree. But there's got to be a better way than spending so much money when we don't have money.
Well, they don't seem to realize that we don't have any money. Cities spend money so recklessly. I mean, we think the feds are bad. The city spending is crazy. I've said it before and I'll say it again because I really want people to pay attention to this when we vote municipally. We focus on what a left-wing extremist Justin Trudeau has turned into. Nobody's paying attention to the mayors and regional chairs in this province, but we've got some real lefty loonies running cities in this province and in this country, and they're all being backed and directed and financed by the Bloomberg Foundation and the World Economic Forum. They've all got connections and ties, the lefty ones that are running cities, and it's crazy what they're getting away with, and nobody pays attention to municipal politics. That's why they're doing it at the municipal level. Go ahead and ask your next mayoral candidate, what's your political affiliation? Ask them questions. Who's paying for your campaign? Who's financing you? What kind of trips and junkets do you get to go on? How often are they flying you to New York for a meeting about 15-minute cities and the Green Revolution and painting Pride sidewalks? All of this shit is coming from one place, and it's amazing how many mayors bought into it. City councilors, too. They don't really bother with the school board trustees, but everybody else, you got to watch these people because they are transforming everything out from underneath us, and we don't even realize it's happening, except for when we get the tax bill, and everybody's wondering, why'd my taxes go up? Because you voted in a left-wing nut. That's why it went up. But of course, it depends on what city you live in. But some people have no right to complain because they just vote for these people and don't do any homework. But anyway, Sankofa Square is a completely ridiculous name. They are way off on the history of Henry Dundas. Like, I honestly think these people are stupid. Did they read a history book? Did they do any research at all? Probably not.
Well, keep in mind, 2020 was a different time too, wasn't it?
It was.
Right?
Yeah, 2020, we had some other issues.
We made a lot of changes, or we agreed to make a lot of changes, or had conversations. Some of them made sense. Absolutely. Some of them made total sense. Others were a little bit like, ooh, in reality, does it make sense, you know?
It was a pandemic, and they rammed this through without talking to the vast majority of people who live in Toronto. And really, it should be everywhere in Ontario because, well, the rest of Ontario finances a great deal of shit in Toronto. I really don't think that if we had a referendum on renaming Dundas Street and renaming Dundas Square, I don't even think it would pass, let alone Sankofa Square. Where did this come from? Some staff report and council just rubber stamped it and put it through? Somebody has got something going on that they don't want the rest of us to know about here. This is part of an agenda, and I really think that people should resist this. No, we don't need to change the name of Dundas Square. Why wasn't there a citywide vote on the new name? Sankofa Square. What were our options?
Yeah, what were the options? I would have liked to know too.
You know, like there's so many different questions to be asked, but these people, again, and Toronto's one of the worst ones, they're just going so far into their ideology, and it's transforming stuff that is sacred to us and has been for a very long time, and it's very, very discouraging. I hope people resist it. Don't call it Sankofa Square or whatever the hell it is unless we have a proper vote. Let's have a vote. Get everybody out. Next election. Here's 4 different names that we could name it, and one of the names is keeping it the same at Dundas Square. You watch what the results would be. It would be nothing like City Council wants you to think it is. Kat, I got an interesting DM the other day. We were talking about, it was a conversation about wedding rings, and it was simple. The guy proposed, and he bought her a very nice $8,000 ring. The woman loved it. She said yes. They got married within a month. But the guy was financing the ring. And once they got married and put all their finances together, he was paying for it out of the joint account. And the woman didn't like that because she said, in a way, I'm kind of paying for my own ring. And while we do not agree on this topic, it certainly got a lot of attention.
Yeah, it certainly did. I still get messages on that from people who went back and listened to that old conversation that we had.
Well, I got a follow-up DM.
But this is interesting. This is a kind of a spin on it.
So it was a woman who asked to remain anonymous. And if you ask, we will always keep you anonymous. She just found out that the engagement ring she's wearing around right now was initially given to another woman. In other words, her fiance proposed to somebody. That woman said no. Now he's with her and used the same ring to propose. Now that she knows this ring was given to someone else, she's wondering, am I an asshole for not liking this ring? Yeah, you're a total asshole.
I disagree. So I understand before we get to this, we'll read a few of the texts, okay, to try to summarize what people were texting into the show today. But the way that I see it is like that, when you went out and you purchased that initial ring, it was for someone else. You had them in mind. You were thinking about your future with that person. And to me, a ring is important. To me, a ring does signify, not that you have to spend a lot of money on it. That's not it at all. But it's a symbol of your relationship. It truly is. I mean, you're set to wear this on your finger for the rest of your life, essentially, right? So when this guy gets turned down by this other woman, it holds on to it for however long. It doesn't matter if it was 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't matter. That was still purchased with an initial intent to go to somebody else who you wanted to spend the rest of your life with. Finding that out as a woman who said yes to you, I would imagine that would be kind of heartbreaking. You don't want to look down at your ring finger and think about a woman that he wanted to be with. That was initially on her finger or in her presence or she was thought of for this ring. I totally get it. It's the same kind of similar reason why I don't like the heirloom thing. It's representing something else that isn't you and that person. So I don't like it.
Octavia, what do you think?
I wouldn't be happy.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't a ring? Like, he bought it. He worked hard to save up the money to buy that ring, and
For
he's
somebody
giving
else.
it to you.
He saved up originally to buy it for somebody else.
Okay, well, we had an interesting comparison come in by text today. Somebody said, hey, listen, first date, I bought a new dress. If that relationship doesn't work out, does that mean I can never wear that dress again?
How much did you spend on that dress? I don't think that's the same thing either.
A dress doesn't represent a relationship. That's a completely different thing.
Okay, wait a second. Are we back to the ring represents the relationship, or was the ring a gift?
It's both, I guess. I don't even know. I don't even know where I stand on the gift thing. It's kind of to me, all it is a representation of your love for that person. So that's how it is. Most of the people did agree that she should be upset, that they are on her side. The ring was purchased with someone else in mind, this texter said. I don't think I could get it out of my head that he was thinking about the other girl. She should be happy if he proposed. If she really loves him, it shouldn't matter, says Melissa. So there's a couple of people who do agree it's not a big deal. I think what matters here is whatever that person thinks that you're with. She obviously doesn't like it. Figure something out.
I think we need to get to a place where, I don't know what happened there. A runtime error. So I guess that's a signal that we got to wrap it up soon.
Oh, that's us.
Listen, I think that we really need to redefine the proposal thing. It's totally okay, ladies, if you want to propose. In fact, we need to normalize it. If you want to propose, you want to give him a ring, maybe we should be exchanging rings at the engagement, because it seems like there's way too many fucking rules about engagement rings that women have set and women control, and it's got to be exactly perfect in the scenario that they want it. I really feel that we would be having different conversations if women had to shell out $8,000 to try and get engaged.
Well, nobody has to shell out $8,000. That's a bit of a misconception. All that matters is that person that you're in a relationship with. You're saying women. All that matters is the person you're with. When you propose to your girlfriend, Scott, all that matters is how she feels about whatever it is. That's all you need to know, and that's all you need to care about. This is all these opinions are people's opinions and how they would feel. And that's all that matters. Communicate with your partner, figure them out. If you know them well enough, you'll figure it out.
Well said. Well said. Are we leaving it at that, or do you want to fight? We'll leave it at that.
We fought so much last time. Like, still working on the shiner I got. You got a broken foot. We'll figure it out. We'll move on.
Because Diddy is in the news again. Another accusation, eh? Is somebody else suing him?
Yeah, there's another former model, early 2000s. She said this happened. It was another drugged. Next thing you know, he's doing things to her and sends her off in a cab. So that's what she claims. That's the accusation. One of many, many accusations. But the biggest story that came down yesterday is that 50 Cent, who's been talking about this documentary he's been working on for months now, just got it sold to Netflix. Huge bidding war. We don't know the price, and I wish I could tell you because I'm sure it is massive. But 50 has been on this, finally said, okay, Netflix, you got it. That's a huge platform, massive platform. Diddy cannot be happy right now. Like, I would love to know Diddy's reaction to finding out that 50 Cent just sold this documentary about him. I bet you he's trying everything he possibly can to get this to not go through. I don't think it's gonna work just because he has interviews. He has interviews from people that worked with Diddy for many years. He has some of the accusers, some of whom just heard things, some of whom have seen things, they're witnesses, etc. It's massive. It's possible, Scott, too, looking down the road, that this documentary, if it's done well enough, and if all the sources are correct and all the boxes are checked, could be used in a criminal investigation in the future. I mean, 50 has got these people. So we don't have a date for it, in case you're wondering. Yes, it's called Diddy Do It. As he said from the beginning, that would be funny, haha, but then more people caught on to it and kept calling it Diddy Do It, so he decided to go with it. Like I said, we don't have a date, but we have every reason to believe it will be out soon. Netflix says it's coming soon. But 50 in his post, and if you don't follow 50, but you're interested in this whole thing, follow 50, because he's giving you all the updates that you need. Everything that happens, he's posting it and giving his opinions and thoughts on. And he doesn't give fucks. He's not scared of anybody.
Nope.
Which is interesting, too, because I bet you Diddy does know people. Now, who's on his side anymore? Probably nobody. But he doesn't seem to have a worry in the world about this because he says he's known for years Diddy was a piece of shit.
But a lot of people knew for years that Diddy was a piece of shit, and
Nobody wanted to
nobody
call him
said
out.
anything except for 50 Cent.
Nobody wanted to say a thing. Nobody wanted to say a thing because they were scared of the repercussions. But now there's too much in the public eye that those repercussions are kind of diminishing at this point. I'm curious about the people that surrounded themselves around Diddy so much, like DJ Khaled. Where the fuck is that guy at?
Yeah.
What have you been up to? What's up with you? Would love to know. He hasn't said much. I mean, and that said, even Drake used to show up on Diddy's property from time to or Khaled's property in Miami. I know that they used to party together too. We've seen images, we've seen videos of things. We don't know for sure. What is 50 Cent found out that he's not telling us? Because he said obviously he's going to make a lot of us wait for the doc to drop.
I mean, there was people no doubt protecting Diddy for the last few years. There's a reason that guy hasn't been charged or isn't in jail and living the same life that R. Kelly is living. There has to be a reason. People knew what was going on and nothing ever happened to Diddy until now. And it makes me wonder, what happened? Why did these people who were protecting him turn on him? Why are they distancing themselves from Diddy now and letting the FBI raid his homes, letting Netflix buy the story and the documentary to air on their platform?
I think we have to give massive credit to Cassie. We have to give credit where credit is due.
Fair?
Cassie is the one that shed a light on this. She is the one, whether or not people, like, I mean, some people think that she gave up by whatever they settled on and settling. But I think it's also a lot of trauma for her. I mean, you saw it you saw that one tape, that one moment in a public spot, basically, in a hotel hallway. Could you imagine what happened behind closed doors to that woman? My God, I'm sure she's got so much PTSD and trauma, but yet she still did what she did. She still outed him for being a piece of shit. I'm not sure if she's a part of this documentary that has, I mean, I'm sure 50 Cent's talking to her. I have no doubt in my mind he's trying to convince her to do something. In the nicest way, though. You have to be really sensitive with that stuff. That's someone's real life and the shit that they've actually seen. So I credit Cassie 100%.
I do too. I mean, certainly she's going to be the driver of all this, but she hasn't said anything in a long time. In fact, she cut a deal with Diddy.
Yeah, but she did say through her lawyer, she basically said it was about time that this piece of shit was outed for being a piece of shit. Here's proof. Here's all the proof that I ever wanted, just to show you a glimpse at my life with this guy for years. And she should say more. I'm not sure what she signed. Like I said, I think we talked about this when we talked to Sandra Ziskin, but I'm not sure what she signed when she settled. And it's possible she signed something, but it could be all gone, and she might say fuck it and deal with whatever repercussions might come to be able to tell us everything that she has seen. Because some of the things are, I assume, are part of a deal where she won't write a book or anything like that. But hey, you know what? Say what you got to say to put a shithole in jail because he deserves it.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what happens. Is Diddy going to jail, do you think?
I hope so.
Sounds like he should. It won't be for the Cassie assault that we saw in that video, though.
I'll tell you what, if he doesn't end up in jail, it's going to be something worse.
Somebody's going to get him.
Maybe. Depends on who's behind what and what people know. He's got tape. If he had tapes on people, it means people have reason to hurt him.
Again, it's second day in a row, I'll say it. It doesn't seem like there's much daylight between Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep, similar, right?
And
similar but different, but similar.
At one point, they cut Jeffrey Epstein loose. They protected him as long as they could, and then they cut him loose, and bam, he was dead in jail in a few, not long after that.
Yeah, of suicide, which nobody really believes.
Nobody believes
it.
I do want to mention something that we're going to be doing through After 9 and through the radio shows next month. It's just a heads up. The Children's Fund does amazing work, and their 13th annual golf tournament is presented by Stantec and Leggett. It's coming up on Thursday, the 4th of July at Flamborough Hills Golf Club. $200 a golfer is the early bird rate. Now, I will be playing in this tournament, along with some of our radio colleagues from Y108, FM 96, 900 CHML, Energy 95.3, the list goes on. I am not bringing anyone to this tournament because I have 3 spots available in my foursome that we are going to auction off for the Children's Fund.
We've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, and finally, the opportunity is here.
18 holes, shotgun start. There's going to be specialty holes. There's prizes. There was a couple holes last year where they were sampling different boozes. It was good. You get your cart, you get lunch and dinner. There's a silent auction, and again, a round of golf with me. 3 people and me in a foursome playing a round of golf at Flamborough Hills. I don't care if you're a great golfer or a dog shit golfer. If you've never played before, I'm okay with that because I want to raise money for this cause. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to tell you how we're going to do it. It will be an online auction, and you can bid as much or as little as you want. Highest bidder gets the other 3 spots in my foursome, and you're going to get treated like a VIP too. You'll sit with me at table 1.
That's great. Oh, this is very exciting. Stay tuned for all the details, friends.
Curious to see how much money that raises.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good. I haven't played golf. It's funny because we're auctioning this off, and charity, of course, is worth it. But I play golf with listeners all the time because I like to play golf alone. That's my Friday thing in the summer. I like to unwind after a long week, go out and play a round of twilight golf alone. Well, golf courses, if they're busy, don't allow golfers to go out alone. They'll pair you up with another group. And it's amazing how many times I've been paired up with listeners. I've met some great people that listen to the pod and the radio shows every day just by playing golf. But this one is for a good cause, and we will keep you posted and let you know when you can bid. And I hope that you are extra generous when it comes to supporting the Children's Fund. Kat, just a couple more things in this episode. We have big news for the biggest name in basketball, Caitlin Clark. Now she signed a deal with Wilson.
Yeah, that's great. Good for her. It's sad that she's making way more money outside of her sport than she should, or like she should be making more in her sport. However, I mean, I know that's the case for a lot of athletes, though. A lot of the most highest grossing athletes, most of their money's actually made on endorsement rather sport, but we all know that women don't make as much. But hey, if enough people go and see her, which I believe people will, it may end up raising the ticket, which in turn might get her paid a little higher. You never know. But this is a good thing. Good for Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, it's a deal with Wilson. There's going to be a signature line of stuff. Like, for example, you'll be able to get a Caitlin Clark Wilson NBA regulation basketball. There's going to be shoelaces. Cool. We already know about the shoe deal, but that's a different deal. Yeah, this girl's making money, and I'm glad. People talk a lot about pay equity when it comes to sports, and there are those who feel that the women, if it's professional, if it's the WNBA, they should get paid as much as the guys in the NBA. I don't know if that makes sense from a business standpoint.
No,
if
you have to
own
raise the
team.
ticket price. Like, so you have to raise. People have to understand you have to raise the ticket price if you do that.
What would you think of lowering the men's price?
Oh, I mean that. Yeah, but that would never happen.
I don't know. I don't know why it couldn't. Why are we paying certain basketball players $15 million to spend a total of 4 minutes on the court in one season?
I mean,
why is that happening?
To change that now would be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, it would be kind of reminiscent of what happened with what's the the standalone golf league there, the
LIV.
So LIV, which now gets along with PGA, but didn't for a while. It's kind of similar to that, where PGA paid them whatever they paid them, but then LIV came along and was like, "Here's fucking way more. Come play with us." Mm-hmm. It would be interesting to see if that would happen though, if you started to do that. If you started to play that game, I could see a lot of ballers who want that fucking money being like, peace.
But these same ballers are all out there saying, "Oh, we support the WNBA. We support pay equity. We want this. We want that. Blah blah blah." The ladies, up until now, didn't even get charter flights for away games. They flew commercial flights.
Yeah, it comes down to the owners of the teams, though. It really does. I would love for them to get into a room and have a conversation about that. How could you don't have to make less, but how do you rejig the money where it is now and where it lies and make it equal? And could that maybe go toward bringing more people into those games to see the women? Because that's another thing too. Not as many do.
Finally, poll is out. And they asked a very simple question about how cheap we are.
Okay, let's see how cheap we are.
This one was for the men. Gentlemen, here's the scenario. You're standing at the urinal.
Yeah, I always wonder what happens in that whole thing that you guys have going on at the bathroom. It's fucking weird to me.
Surprisingly uneventful. You just stand there, whip it out.
No, it's so awkward though. You're standing next to someone
twice.
peeing. Octavia, let's bring Octavia in for a second. I don't want to be the only one feeling this way. Don't you think it's weird? Like, what are they doing there? They're just standing next to each other, holding their. And I know it's not sexual. So don't think that. But even just sitting there peeing, it's so vulnerable.
We don't stand next to each other. You always leave a urinal space between.
Yeah, but if it's busy, like if you're at a place where it's busy, you have no choice but to stand next to someone.
I'd rather piss in the parking lot.
Seriously, you've never stood next to someone peeing?
I mean, I have, but it's not a good thing.
That's what I mean. That's so uncomfortable. It's weird.
I don't know. What are you girls doing? You're in there for a hell of a lot longer than we are.
Yeah, but we have stalls and we have privacy.
Well, it's not like we're looking at each other's dicks.
I know, but just
some guys do. I shouldn't even say that.
Know.
Some guys do.
I imagine that they do.
You catch them sneaking a peek, and I don't know what guys are looking at when they look at somebody else's pecker. Like, are you looking to see how big it is or how
Yeah.
small yours is?
Are you looking at the urine color, like fucking judging? Like what? I don't even understand. The whole thing's fucking weird and
I think
gross.
he's dehydrated.
Yeah, like I don't like it.
Well, they asked guys, 490 men, you're ready to take a pee at the urinal, but then you notice a penny in the toilet or at the urinal.
Penny.
Yeah, they still have them in America.
And they do, yeah.
Would you pick up the penny? 428 of the 490 said, no, I'm not picking up a penny out of the urinal.
But I mean, some people would. What
62
the fuck?
people. 62 people said they would pick up that penny. That's 13%,
Oh my
Kat.
God, I will give you $1 to not do that. Like, stop it. That's disgusting.
What if it were $1? If there was a loony
here we go.
in that toilet or that urinal, would you pick it up?
Did more people say?
Only a couple people said they would do it for $1. But again, it's different in America because their dollar is paper, whereas ours is a coin. If you
That makes a difference.
paper
I
money
guess?
in the toilet, you're not picking it up. A coin, though, you could run that under the tap
You
for a
can wash
while.
that?
and
Oh, it's all
soak it
gross.
in a
I mean, it's
little-
all disgusting.
a little hand
Ugh.
sanitizer.
And by the way, what asshole would leave their money in there? Like, what is it? It's not a wishing well. Get the fuck out of here.
Someone voted yes and said, if you see free money, you take it. End of story. Money is money.
Oh.
What do you think, Octavia? You go to use the ladies' room and there's a toonie at the bottom of the toilet. Are you picking it
Yeah,
up?
that's that's equivalent.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Why?
And my other thought, if we're talking in the States here, if somebody did leave $1 bill or something in the toilet, what else do you think is on that bill? What else are they doing in the bathroom that ended up in the toilet?
That's true.
Have you heard this stat that if you grabbed like a stack of $5, $10, $20, $100 bills from the bank,
Yeah.
statistically speaking, like a fifth of them would have cocaine residue on it?
Yes.
That's how many people are using money to snort a line.
Yeah. Yeah. Or have, even if it was years ago. It stays in circulation. That's why I don't like I don't deal with cash anymore, really. That's one of the reasons why. Money's dirty.
Money is dirty.
I'd rather hold my own dirty card.
And on that, we got to go, everybody. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Another new episode of After 9 coming your way tomorrow. And if you'd like to weigh in on this or anything else, you can text us at 1-833-915-7469. That spells show, or you can DM us.
That's right, you can anytime. Have a good one, friends.
The head of Canada's intelligence agency has warned Canadians to stay off TikTok. TikTok in Canada is a little different. Instead of a tortilla, they slap each other with Tim Hortons coffee lids. Well, get this, Peloton shares just plunged after the company announced a global refinancing. Peloton is barely hanging on. Now when you ride your bike, you have to give a motivational pep talk to the instructor. You got this, Bex. Hang in there. You got this. Some more business news. Nestle is releasing a new line of frozen foods for people on Ozempic. It's part of their new line of not hungry man dinners. The FDA just recalled some bags of pedigree dog food because they may contain metal pieces. On the bright side, you can now clean up after your dog by using a magnet.